to know the artist behind the epic melodies, songs, and beats. Celebrating the best new music from around the world. This is the A State of Trance podcast.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to a new A State of Trance podcast. My name is Ruben Ron, and this week we have someone in the studio that had just made his debut behind the turntables, or actually in the club, releasing a brand new album called A Place to Call Home. Welcome, Corren Cavini.
Thank you.
How are you doing, man?
Yeah, very good.
Nice.
Very, very nice to be here. I've done the radio show just an hour ago, and
how did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah. This is a really nice place. I've been coming here for years, but I haven't done A State of Trance before yet. So it's it was really fun to do.
Yeah, we ran into each other loads of times already throughout the years.
Yeah,
you were also there in the Armada office where the State of Trance studio is. There's also production studios, and that's where most of the album has been created, my guess.
Yeah, a lot. So especially the finishing of the tracks, most of it was done in either these studios or studios in other Armada offices.
Awesome. Well, we're going to dive into your history a little bit and talk about the album, of course. But first, I always like to start with some random questions just to warm things up.
Okay,
you're okay with that?
Of course.
All right, let's start with some quick fire. So quick answers from your side.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Day or night studio sessions?
Day.
Analog synths or digital?
Digital.
Most overused plugin on your new album?
Overused.
Yeah. It's for the nerds out there.
Native Instruments, Contact, and then the Noir library.
Oh,
piano.
The piano. I love that with the particles.
Yeah.
So good. Coffee, tea, or something else while producing?
Water.
Okay. A track isn't done until?
A track never is done until I release it.
It's so true.
Until I release
it. The weirdest sound you have sampled or created on the album?
Ooh. I'm blanking on this. I'm sure that there's lots of weird stuff. I've made recordings literally as we were in my mother's home.
Yeah.
Of nothing in particular, just of walking around and talking, and there in some tracks very far in the background.
So you just record something with your phone and just put it in a track, or?
Yeah, I do that loads. I think maybe not literally every track on the album has that, but most of them do. Not like in the foreground, but like in the far background to give it some life. And I also really like the way it attaches something really personal of mine. Almost every track I make is really connected to a feeling or a memory, and having something that's really recorded in real life that matches that memory or feeling is something I really like to do.
Awesome. So that's why you're recording our lunch just now. Some ASMR sounds like
beautiful.
Your go-to snack during long studio hours?
Boo. Maybe just a banana.
Okay.
I'm super boring. I'm very practical.
It's healthy though. It's healthy.
Yeah.
One preset that you use all the time in all of your tracks?
Ooh. I mean, would you count Contact libraries as presets?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Noir again, maybe, or session strings as well.
Okay.
In Contact.
A track you would play on a 3 a.m. road trip, sitting in the car in the dark. You're driving down the highway. What is a track you put on?
Ooh, maybe Ringo, Yours Forn.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful track.
Yeah, I agree. And a track you would save for a Sunrise Festival set.
Also Ringo. No, let me think of something else.
So let's say next Saturday you're going to play an open to close set.
Yeah.
What is the track that you're saving for last track? What is the encore?
Of my new album, really the final track on the album is a 140 BPM breakbeat track with vocals by Dan Soleil.
Yeah.
And we wrote it together, and it really hits me in the feelings really deeply. And I think that will probably be the closing track there. And actually, it's also a really nice sunset track.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Now or Never.
You have to think about it.
Yeah, because there's 2 tracks with Dan Soleil on the album, so I'm thinking don't confuse the 2.
Fair enough. All right, let's dive a little bit into the history of yourself, because right now you live in Utrecht, but you're a mug, a mosquito, from Haarlem, right?
I mean, I was born there, but I haven't really lived in Haarlem.
You don't count as a mosquito.
So, I don't think we can count me as a true Haarlemmer.
Okay.
No.
First of all, I'm very curious about how did you come up with your artist name? It's probably a question that everybody asks. But yeah.
No, it's true. It's really funny actually, or well, maybe not so funny. It's literally just something I thought of when I was, I don't know, maybe 13, 14 years old. When I was just like, oh, my real name is Cornet, and Corren sounds cool, and Cavini also sounds cool. And then I thought it was stupid, so I stopped using it. And then I started like a real, more mature artist project, so to say. And in the meantime, all of my friends had started actually calling me Corren.
Okay.
So what started off as a stupid something I just thought of became sort of
your nickname,
something that really felt like my identity. So it started off as just something I thought sounded cool, and it got meaning because it actually became like a nickname.
Where did you get Cavini from?
I honestly don't remember. Yeah, it sounded cool. Literally, yeah. I wish
enough.
I could say there's a lot about my career that's very deliberate, that I've thought about a lot, that's very emotional to me. My artist name, I can't say is that. It's just something I thought sounded cool when I was a kid, and it stuck. And now it does really feel like my identity.
Yeah.
So by now it doesn't feel like something stupid that I just thought of anymore.
You sound like a mysterious Italian producer. Corren Cavini.
Yeah. I mean, I do love Italian food and culture. So
same, 100%. All right, so now we have that out of the way. So, okay, let's dive into your history a little bit. Releases wise, because the earliest ones that I found, correct me if I'm wrong, is in 2018. Out there. That was my first like real label release, I think, with Manual Music. Yeah, the label of Paul Hazendonk.
And that was a really nice label for me to sort of start off with. I had been working on many different kinds of music before. I literally tried almost every single genre you can think of before I sort of landed on my sound. But I started sending it to labels, and nobody was really replying. And then somebody I knew from my music school, Kevin, he's called Buddha Kid. Maybe you know his music. Yeah. He said, you should maybe send an email to Paul Hazendonk, who's the label manager at Manual Music, because he's really good at sort of helping you as a very young artist. And I really didn't know where to go yet. So I sent him an early version of Out There. And he really took the time to say, hey, maybe you need to change this and this, so it becomes a bit more your own.
Yeah.
And we ended up releasing that, and that was my first official label release, I think.
He's an amazing A&R.
Yeah.
He has signed so many artists their first main release, and you see all these artists popping in and then becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So he has a great ear, and it's great. So big shout out to Paul. If well, you're probably not listening, but still a big shout out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You say something interesting because you said that you were in a musical school.
Yeah.
But I want to go back a little bit more. Okay. So let's go to the point that you're like, okay, most of the times it's someone listening to a radio or a certain set or whatever that triggered you, that you were like, okay, I want to start making music, or I want to start becoming a DJ. Do you still remember that moment? So before you decided to go to school for it?
Yeah. Those are two very different questions, because you asked what made you want to make music.
Thank you for correcting me.
And no, it's okay. But it's just, for me, there were like 8 years between when I started like I want to make music and when I started DJing. So when I was really young, I think 6, 7 years old, my brother was 5 years older, and he listened to a lot of rock and sometimes even metal records. Mm-hmm. And I remember, do you remember The Rasmus, the band that was really big back then?
Yeah, The Rasmus, yeah.
I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So then I was like, okay, now I want to be a guitar player in a rock band, and I thought that was really cool. So actually, I started taking guitar lessons, and initially I wanted to become like a rock star.
Okay.
Until I was like maybe 12, 13, and I started thinking guitar is a bit boring. But I always was collecting records of all types of music. I always wanted to be the kid at school who heard the new Lady Gaga record for the first time, or that type of thing. And then when the moment came, like somewhere in high school, when you first start doing sort of parties, no real alcohol parties yet, but you know, you're maybe 14, school parties, 15, school parties. I was always the kid like, you listen to a lot of music. You can put some things on a CD and we'll play that. And I was like, yeah, sure, let me try that. And I didn't know anything about dance music. But first I burned one CD, and then maybe 10, and then I put them on a USB, even though CDJ 2000s weren't a thing yet. And
so before you didn't even realize it, but you were a DJ all of a sudden. Yeah.
Exactly. And then at a certain moment, I borrowed my brother's laptop and illegally downloaded Traktor DJ software, and I just started clicking like, oh, maybe this sounds good. And then after a while, it became a bit more serious, and I bought my first fake CDJs. Had like a CD folder this big just to carry around everywhere. And then I started playing for the first time in the one club that we that we had in the town where I grew up, Lelystad, which the funny thing is they only did urban music. So it was like really hip hop and moombaton and reggaeton, which wasn't what I was into, but I wanted to DJ. So they said, yeah, this is what we do here. Go
take it or leave it.
Yeah. So I started experimenting with that, and honestly, I didn't love the music, but I wanted to DJ, so I did it. And after a while, every now and then they would have techno parties in the second room there. And there was one DJ there, like the resident, who sort of guided me. I think I was like 15, maybe 16 years old. I had to not show my ID so nobody could check if I was legal there. And he said, maybe you should try opening one of those techno nights once, because apparently this is not 100% your thing, and maybe you could do with trying something else that maybe suits you a bit more. And the funny thing was, I sort of was like, yeah, if I can DJ more, I'll try it. I didn't know anything about techno or house or deep house or whatever. But I took the opportunity. So I downloaded like the full Beatport top 100 of
this must be good. I'll take it.
Of deep house, and I had no taste in it. But actually, as I listened to those records, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And especially when I played there the first time, this was no real techno culture or whatever. But I immediately noticed this is like a way different kind of clubbing that I really, really like. And there were quite a couple of records that I still remember to this day that sort of made the first imprint on me of like,
which were?
I remember Imprint of Pleasure by Tube and Burger. And I think one of the first biggest Dusky records, if you remember those, what's it called? I think it's called Nobody Else. It's a really brilliant, what we called deep house back then, and genre
whatever
names,
it was,
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, I really liked it, and I started discovering some more tech housey stuff like Jay Lumen and things like that. And funny thing was, before I started DJing, I said I want to go and become a professional musician and go to like a conservatory and do the classical training and whatever. And when I started DJing and producing on the side of it with, how everybody starts with FL Studio and just messing around, I really noticed like, oh, this is what I want to go for. So then I started looking into the various options that luckily we have a lot of here in the Netherlands, to study music production and educate myself as an artist and also as like a studio technician, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how it happened. And then after high school, I took a gap year to sort of feel out how it actually is to full-time do music, even though I wasn't professional at all yet. And after that year, I started studying at Rock Academy in Tilburg, in the south of the Netherlands. And there I studied music production. And that was really good for me. There's a couple of different options in the Netherlands. Tilburg's a bit remote, so for getting in touch with club culture, it wasn't ideal. But it was really, really a great place for me to develop myself. Also because it's a study that has a really healthy mix between music technical stuff, so both studio production and like the music theory schooling, but they also teach you a lot about marketing and branding and the financial side of it, which
sometimes is even more important than
exactly is really important. And a lot of classical conservatories maybe don't do that, and I really to this day think it's been really important for me in my artistic development.
Did you straight away start over there with the dance music direction, or was it just a general education?
No, I did specifically go to electronic music production. And that said, what I really like is that they had a couple of classes that you had to take where you weren't told what to do, but you were like really forced to experiment and work with people from other disciplines. So
like studio sessions.
studio sessions, but we had like in 1 year you had 3 big projects.
Yeah.
Where at the end of the project you would have to do a live performance, and it could be the only rule was it needs to be, I think, 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it could be whatever you want. So you could make a DJ set and have somebody sing over it. The only rule was it needs to be at least one other person than you, and it needs to be 15 minutes. So I did a couple of different
band that you had to create.
Exactly. It was literally called Band Skills. And so I did 3 very different projects. One where I was with one other producer and a singer, and we sort of did like sort of backing track type of thing where we wrote the songs and produced them. But another one that I really remember strongly, I really liked Wevo at the time, who had like a really cool electronic live act where they also did live drums. So I did a whole period of, I think, 3 months where I worked just with a drummer on a live set where we experimented with electronic music combined with live drums. And we stopped the project after that, but it was something that I really liked doing because it taught me a lot, but it was really fun. And I don't know, I might end up doing that again at some point if it feels right.
That's amazing. It's funny because I've had a lot of former students from the Herman Brood Academy here in the studio as well, because somehow the Dutch education system is so well organized for young artists nowadays. So it's nice to see that you're coming from that same system as well. So it's great to see that the education system actually works in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So this was before 2018, before the release, or were you in school while you had your first releases?
Yeah, I think so. I think off the top of my head, in my 3rd year, probably it was.
Yeah.
Might be wrong, but at least during my studies, I did my first release. Yeah.
So while you were studying, you were already achieving the goals that you were studying for, basically.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way back then because I was like, I want to do bigger, better, whatever. But yeah, you could say so. Okay. Absolutely.
2019, you have your first move on the label of Ilke Klein, Days Like Nights.
Yeah.
My Mind. So what I did, I took a couple of tracks that I think are standing out.
Okay.
So that's I'm trying to see what you still remember, or what you still remember about creating these tracks, or the moment that you signed them, or whatever feeling you have to them. Because I guess coming in the scene where you are, Ilke Klein is one of the I wouldn't say gods, but he's one of the biggest ones, right?
Yeah.
Do you still remember signing that track to Days Like Nights?
Absolutely, because it was a target of mine for years. I met Ilke when I was just a little 16-year-old fanboy at I won a DJ contest, and one of the prizes was a masterclass by Ilke Klein and his manager. And I remember, I still have the picture somewhere. I was like, can I take a picture, please? And can I send you some music as well?
Yeah.
So I sent him music, and Ilke is one of those people who really takes the time. Even I was 16 years old and my productions weren't that good yet, but he always made sure to listen and always responded. So I've been sending Ilke new tracks for a very long time. And My Mind was a track where everything sort of came together after years of working on my artistic development and becoming sort of me. And also in terms of personal processes, I'd gone through a lot of trauma in my youth, and I had just worked through that. And when I started writing My Mind, I remember having tears in the studio because it was like a moment where everything clicked and it came out into that track.
Like a therapeutic session for yourself.
Yeah, which is really what music can do. And I remember after I worked on it for quite a while, and I sent Ilke one version of it, and we did some final tweaking. But that was like the first track that he was really positive about, and also the start of like a real professional relationship with Ilke, which now has turned into, dare I say, a friendship because we know each other very well, and I've done a lot of releases with his label.
Yeah. Such an amazing guy, an amazing team that he has 100%.
Yeah.
2020, you released a track. I would say this had to be another bucket list for you.
Yeah.
On This Never Happened, the label of Lane 8, of course.
Yeah.
Finding Fears and 1635. Those were releases on there. So this was your first step outside of the Dutch community, I would say.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. I don't remember the order of all of my releases exactly.
Yeah.
I think around the same time I also started working with 03, but This Never Happened was definitely a huge moment for me because then the label was relatively young.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many releases they did before that, but I really loved the way Lane 8 came up and the sounds he did because have been searching for my sound for a very long time. I liked progressive. I liked techno. I liked house, but I wasn't sure how they needed to fit together. And his songs were really inspirational for me in that way. So when I had these tracks, Finding Fears and 1635, it made total sense to me to send them to him. And I actually had direct personal contact with him. He's a really nice guy as well. And yeah, we ended up signing those, and it was a really, really nice release to do. Yeah.
And in the years after that, you released a lot of music with all kinds of different labels. Is that a particular choice that you made, that you want to just see what happens with this release or that release instead of picking a home? Well, you kind of picked a home now. We'll get to that later now.
Yeah.
What is a choice that you decide to spread things out?
Yeah, because it has a couple of different reasons. One, all of the labels I worked with still to this day, even though I don't work with them anymore, I would really endorse because they're good musical homes, and the people I worked with on there, I felt real connections to. And that's, for me, the most important thing in deciding who I work with in general. So that's one factor. And it was also a factor that I was like, I have a few different aspects of my sound, and there's also different fan bases that I might want to tap into. So yeah, I guess that was sort of the strategy behind how I chose those labels. And it's also a matter of, I remember when My Mind came out, I got a mail from one or two different labels that said, oh, we really like this. Can you send us more demos like this? And one or two of them I kept in touch with and ended up releasing stuff with in the end. And then you build a relationship and you sort of feel out not just how it works professionally, because that's, of course, very important, but also how is the personal connection here? Does it work? Do I feel good with this person? How involved are they? And also, in what sense do their skills match with my needs as an artist? So, for example, I did quite a couple of releases on 03. And what really helped me there is that the label manager there, Jamie
Camp,
is an amazing guy, and he's really dedicated on making your tracks the absolute best they can be. So for me, he's been an amazing guy as well, because he really took the time. I remember sending him tracks, and there are a lot of label managers that will say, no, it's not for us.
Yeah.
He heard the potential in the track, but he said it's not quite there yet. And you could say it's not for us, or you could really invest in somebody and try to make it better. And that's really what he did on several tracks. He came up with lists, like full pages of feedback, like maybe if you do this and this and this, it becomes more whatever. And yeah, in that way he really improved, helped to make a couple of the releases we did together as good as they could.
But then from an artistic point of view, I know a lot of artists, because I've been in that situation as well, as an A&R, both as an A&R and as an artist, that you're like, I see what you mean. I have to change a lot of things. I don't want to do that because that's how I feel the record should be.
Yeah. So this is where the personal side of it becomes very important, because if somebody gives you that much feedback,
they are invested.
That can only work if you have a proper personal connection.
Yeah.
If I think somebody's a not so nice person and he sends me a list of things that are bad about my tracks, I'm like, maybe let's not work together. But here, with Jamie and also with many other labels, I can really handle the feedback well, because I know they're actually invested in my project emotionally, and they really like what I'm doing. And because of that, and they trust my personal taste as well. Because of that, I feel free. And that's also what happens when somebody sends me a list like this with feedback. There will be points in there where I'm like, oh yeah, good idea. I'll change this or do this. But there will also be things where I'm like, yeah, no, I know what you mean, but this is a really conscious choice I'm making.
It's finding the right balance in it.
Yeah. And there the personal aspect's very important, because you need to feel safe to get that criticism, but you also need to feel safe to say, this is my taste and this is something we're not going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. 2023, you have your first release on Purified, the label that you released your album with right now.
Yeah.
Melancholy Party and Frostbite was an EP that you released.
Yeah.
From that moment on, you still released with a lot of other labels in the meantime, but that was the first time that you got in touch with Purified, with the label of Nora En Pure.
Yeah.
Why did you choose that label at that time to release that tune, that EP?
I mean, it was sort of a right
Not
moment.
a bucket list, or
Yeah, well,
not really.
Yeah, I guess. But it was mainly like a really right moment, right time, right connection type of thing. Nora En Pure had been playing a couple of the releases we talked about earlier in her DJ sets, and she had sent me some messages sometimes, like I like this, and I thanked her for her support. And we met at a show at ADE. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure exactly, where I played and Ilke Klein played and she played. And that was the first time that we met in person. And I think we already felt like, oh yeah, there's a good connection here. We sort of have the same values, but also the same taste in music. And then, yeah, after a while she said, okay, but I really like your releases, but maybe we should try something for the label. Can you send over some stuff? And so I did. And from that point, really the connection has only grown. The first EP was, especially Melancholy Party, did quite well on the chill stations, also around the world, like in the US. But also it was we really noticed, I think both of us, that there's like a really good connection here, both personally and in terms of the values we have in life, like the things we think are important.
Like?
Nature, respecting the world, being really open, but also musical taste. I've met very few people in my life where my own musical taste aligns so much with somebody else's. Like, we're really close. It's I think I play quite a lot of her tracks in my set, and she plays quite a lot of mine. And yeah, it's nothing. We don't think of it from a branding point. It's just sometimes you have somebody that you really align with.
It's just there. It's like the perfect connection that you have.
Yeah. It's and I'm sure, I hope I keep developing, and I'm certain at one point maybe my taste will change, and maybe, you know, whatever. But especially at that point, and for the past 2 years, that connection has grown and grown and grown. And it started out with Melancholy Party, which was more of a really deep and chill and emotional record. But one of the biggest records we did together was Daydream. Yeah, I think the last EP before my album, I think, sometime last year or the year before, I'm not sure. And that was a track that she played so much in her sets. And that's the same year that I also started playing Purified events and really feeling part of that family, which is really strong. I really love playing all of those events because I just feel at home. Yeah. So the connection has grown very naturally. And when I started thinking about doing an album, I did think about various labels and talk to various people, but really quite often, quite soon, it was clear, like, yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah, because since your first EP with the on Purified, you released with Manual, Days Like Nights, an EP on This Never Happened, with Thriving, Stand Your Ground, and Impact of Life. And 2024, you were back with Purified, with Remember, you said as well. And in 2025, you decided to, okay, this is my place for now.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to release my album.
Yeah.
Which is a big dedication.
Absolutely. Yeah, from both sides. So from the point I started writing my album, I was very consciously working on it, but I also was very much just sort of feeling out everywhere I came and where I talked to, I don't know, label managers or anybody I could potentially work with.
Yeah.
I sort of had in the back of my mind, okay, I'm going to see how you work and what your values are and where you want to go. And so I talked to a couple of people, but really there were a couple of really significant moments with Purified and Nora En Pure.
Because of the label nights, probably you meet each other, you hang out with each other.
Yeah, exactly. So one that really stood out to me was I did a show in Prague last year at the Krizikova Fountain.
Yeah.
Sorry for butchering the name, Czech people. And that was amazing because the crowd there is great. But that was also the first time I really connected with the rest of the Purify team as a sort of family. I remember my girlfriend was there. Lots of people from the Purify team were there, and I started noticing because I'd met most of them before. Yeah. Here it really it feels like a home to me. I connect really strongly personally here. And then what also really helped was that I started keeping a closer eye on their events. And if I watch the lineups they do for their events, they almost always match if I would curate my ideal lineup, usually they have a lot of overlap with the Purified lineups, which is not only great because if I play there, I play with artists I like, but it also says to me a lot about how aligned we are in terms of musical vision.
Mm-hmm.
The artists that I really like are the artists that Purified really likes. And that's no coincidence. That's why it makes a lot of sense to work together.
That's why it's a place to call home.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, there you are.
Yeah.
So the first single, because an album project, that's like a whole, you pour years and a lot of effort and blood, sweat and tears in that. And then you have a certain framework, it's done. So I would say most of the times people are already releasing stuff from the album, even though the album is not 100% done. Was it the same with you? Or did you have everything done and then you started releasing music? Or
yeah. Well, the track list was done.
The tracks were not done yet.
Yeah. So I sent at some point, I don't remember exactly when, I sent like a list which I thought this is probably going to be the album to Nora En Pure and Purified. And they were immediately very enthusiastic. And then together we started talking about how should it look, how are we going to do this, but also like kind of curating the tracks because I had more demos than ended up on the album.
Yeah.
And then as I was sort of curating as we were curating the album, it came to a point where we're like, okay, this is 100% going to be the track list, and we want these and these and these to be singles. So then we had a sort of a schedule, and then it was just a matter of making the final edits and masters and everything. But by the time the first single, Tell Me, was released,
track with Chris Howard.
Really the whole album was done except for final edits and editing an intro and mixing and mastering, finalizing, you know. But basically it was done at that point. Yeah.
It's funny because last week we had Paul Denton on the show also with the album special. And he was basically like, okay, we're going to put in a release date and this is going to be the deadline. I'm going to start working. It's such a different approach on things.
No, I think I wouldn't have felt, I wanted to feel confident and happy with the album also for my personal process before I started thinking about a release, because it was really started out as a process almost mainly for myself. To write a full story, and not only musically but also personally, and have something complete that I'm really happy with. And then that was already like a big achievement to have it done. And then we sort of make the release plans more concrete, and we got there.
So the first single, like you said, was Tell Me with Chris Howard. Other singles were Listen to the Silence, Agoraphobia, and Heart of Gold, also with Chris Howard. Now, tell me a little bit, because you already mentioned it a few times, like it's therapeutic and stuff like that. And Agoraphobia, I had to look it up, is correct me if I'm wrong, the fear of open spaces without escape possibilities. So it's quite a heavy thing. Is that something that you dealt with in the past yourself, or it's not a track title you would pick like, oh, okay, let's randomly pick a word?
No, actually with Agoraphobia, and okay, let's hack it up into sort of two things. What definitely is true is that the album is very therapeutic. There's lots of emotional stories in there. To give an example, Home is the very first track. There was a moment, I want to say 2 years ago off the top of my head, maybe a bit more, where we heard my mother got sick. So I got a phone call, obviously very sad. Went home to my mother's house. And of course, the first thing you do is you hug each other and you cry and etc. But in my mother's house, there's always been a piano. And then for me, sort of the natural thing to do after letting it out is letting the emotion out at a piano. And as I told you before, I record not everything, but most things.
You record a lot, yeah.
And I recorded what I played at the piano there, and it felt very natural, like an emotional outburst almost. And that's what ended up becoming the track that's called Home Overture.
So at such a heavy moment in your life, you decided to sit on a piano and just let it flow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Not to write a song.
No, just to let it out.
The goal, just to that's sort of the role music has for me in my life. Where if I'm dealing with heavy stuff, it can sort of flow out. And there's lots of other reasons for me, like that piano, the place where it stands. It's like an anchor for me in my life. I've had quite some experience with not feeling safe at home. And like the
piano is like the
musical instruments, and especially my mother's place has always been the place where I do feel safe and home. So it was very natural to sort of let my emotions go there. And once that track was finished, I always have like a list of 20, 30, 40 demos. And my manager and I were always talking about, we're going to do an album at some point, but it needs to feel natural. And I think 2 weeks maybe after I wrote that track and recorded it, we were listening through all of the demos, and we just looked at each other and we knew, this is the start of the album, and the rest of the album we'll figure out and it will come naturally. But we suddenly knew, like, this is that moment where it needs to come out.
That makes it even extra special that you did it at home after hugging your mom after such a heavy news. And how that must have been super hard to, because now every time when you hear the track, that brings you back to that moment, I would say. Yeah. Or you see it as a release and then it's like...
Well, no. It definitely is connected very personally, but it's actually, I wouldn't say it's hard. It's beautiful to me.
It's not sad, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like also what helps and makes it manageable is that luckily everything went okay in the end. Yeah. She had the treatments and whatever. Yeah. And now she's healthy again, luckily. But still, I think it's easy to say now, but even if that hadn't have happened, I think still it's such a warm feeling for me to think about the piano in my mother's home. And I actually have other tracks where I recorded myself playing, and you can hear my mother putting the forks on the table in the background. To me, that's a really warm feeling and a safe feeling that I value extremely highly.
What does she think of that story? That is the first track of the album. That it's pretty much a dedication to her.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it very directly. Yeah. I'm sure she likes it a lot. But we have our, how do I say this? We have a really strong communication, but very much in our own way. And about this track, the way that we talk about it, and the way that it sort of came together, is what we always, or what we do a lot, is that we take a drive around wherever in her car, or we drive somewhere, whatever. And I'll always be in charge of the music, of course.
Like always.
Exactly. So I'll play a Spotify playlist, and sometimes I'll sneakily play something new that I've been working on. And in this case, and I'll not tell her what it is, and I'll look. Like, how is she responding? Is this something that works? And I saw she really liked it, and then I told her, like, hey, I wrote this at this moment, and I think she thought it was pretty special as well.
You're taking the car test to a whole new level.
Yeah. I would say it's some people do car tests. I do my mom in the car test. It sounds really bad, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. 100%.
It's like I look over to the left, and if she responds, and usually she's like, "Oh, is this something new of yours?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." If she responds like that, it's
that's a good thing.
Worth working on.
Amazing! What a great story. 100%.
Yeah.
And now I just want to have like, why did you pick agoraphobia? Is that something you want to talk about or not so much?
I absolutely do want to talk about it, but it's true that agoraphobia has the meaning that you talked about, but also agoraphobia in Dutch translates to pleinvrees. And Dutch ravers,
there you go,
will know a lot about pleinvrees. Pleinvrees, for people maybe who haven't ever heard of it, was a party concept / festival that went on for years in the Netherlands, which was really the home for melodic house and techno music before it was called melodic house and at least I don't remember it being called that way. And pleinvrees for me has been hugely important in my life. I've been to more pleinvrees parties than I could count, and it's on that dance floor I let go of emotions, I connected with friends, I made memories that will last a lifetime. But unfortunately pleinvrees did their final party last year, I want off the top of my head. And so the track is really a tribute to the party itself. That's and also amazing. The music that I heard there loads of times. And I've sort of tried to take the magic that was pleinvrees and the artists that played there and make it my own and add my own sauce or whatever to it. And that's why the track's called Agoraphobia. It's
again, making it your home.
Yeah.
Pleinvrees.
Yeah.
So I see what's happening here. Also, everything's coming together now.
Yeah. The home is a theme for a reason, you know. Home can take very many forms. But I think the sort of common denominator for me is home is a place where you feel safe, where you feel free to express yourself, and where you can connect with many different people. And to me, that's really valuable and the right. This is something I really find in music and in clubs and in festival culture, and something I think is immensely important, not just for me, but for like basically anybody that's ever been part of that culture knows how important it is. And sometimes it makes me really angry when I see politicians or whoever sort of say it's just hedonism and it's very shallow. And it's so not that. It's super important.
But those are the same people that never been there and never experienced the unity created by race.
Exactly. Yeah. And the funny thing is, my mother is a theologian. Is that how you say it in English? So she's quite religious, but also very open to talking about it. So I grew up knowing a lot, and I still do, about religion and the role it takes in people's lives. And even though I'm not religious myself, I think it's something very special. Mm-hmm. And maybe because I know as much and as I do about the role, for example, a church might take in somebody's life, I see quite a lot of likenesses.
Which is also a home to people.
It's a home. It's a place where people connect.
And feel safe.
It's something where you feel safe and where you can share your sorrows and deal with things. Sound similar? Yeah. So I really believe club culture and festival culture is like hugely important, and it can make me really angry when people talk about it as if it's just hedonism, when it's so not. It's like a holy thing to me and something really worth fighting for.
I agree with you.
Defending.
I think in the world that we live in, one of the few things that is still uniting people is music.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, all other powers are trying to separate everybody, and that's a whole different discussion. But I agree with you that the music and dancing culture is a safe place for, at least it has to be a safe place for a lot of people.
It's
nice that you dedicate a whole album to that. Is that's amazing. A place still called home. I quickly want to dive into some more random questions, if that's okay with you.
Of course. It's good to keep it a bit light.
Because we could dive into a very deep hole over there.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of producers and DJs listen to this podcast, and let's dive into more like not nerdy questions, but you know what I mean, the creative process.
I love nerdy questions.
Yeah, me too. But sometimes people are like, oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
So let's start with, what does a typical day in the studio looks like for you? Because you mentioned before that it's daytime that you work in general. So
I really prefer. I used to make long nights when I was really young, but I really stopped with that years ago. Now it works much better for me to go into the studio relatively early in the day and then afterwards just go home and cook and you know. So It really depends. I sort of have two different types of studio days. There are studio days where I'm focused on creativity and making new stuff, and there's days where I'm focused on finishing stuff. And I really try to sort of separate the two. So
do you know beforehand what the day is going to be like?
Quite often I will, because especially during like an album process, I'm very aware, like, okay, I have the deadline for the master for the first single, so I need to really make sure that the mixes and master really sound good, and that's what my whole day is going to be dedicated to. And then I'll arrive at the studio, depending on how I feel, maybe at 9 or 10, sometimes 11. And I'll start working on music, like on the mix down, and sort of clean everything up. And in between, I'll always do some sessions where I listen to various tracks that I know very well for 30 seconds each to reset my ear. So like maybe 3 minutes long, I'll listen to 6 tracks.
Are they always the same? Like reference tracks? Yeah.
I have a playlist of 30 tracks. I should say they're not specifically reference tracks. They're usually, I try to use tracks that I know very well, but are not from my sound.
Yeah.
So for example, in my I call it an excerpt set. It's a technique that somebody at my music school taught me. There's tracks in there that I listen to all throughout my life. For example, in my list, there's Red Hot Chili Peppers, there's Mac Miller, Eminem. It's really, really broad. And that's something I do to sort of reset my ears in between.
To get out of the 4/4 pattern or whatever.
Yeah. And also because it's if your
different sonically.
Your ears take 30 seconds to adjust to the sound of a song, and the benefit of having like a very broad playlist like that is that you listen to very different sonic characters. So your ears reset a couple of times and listening to totally different things. And then when I come back into my track, I hear all sorts of things I didn't hear before. So that's something I like to do. And yeah, when I'm working like on working on a mixdown or finishing a track, I'll be working on that until, depending on how it goes, maybe 2, 3, 4, depending on how it goes. And what I notice is usually by that time, my ears are really getting a bit tired, or I won't hear the tiny details in the mix anymore. And it doesn't make sense anymore to keep working on the mixdown unless I really have a deadline.
Yeah.
So after that, if I have some time left in the studio, I'll just kind of, I mean, kids at school have playtime, and that's sort of my playtime, and I'll do whatever. Sometimes I'll be doing sound design. Sometimes I'll just be behind the piano figuring out melodies, and sometimes something comes out of it. Sometimes it doesn't.
So you like a proper structure in the things that you're doing?
Although there are definitely also days that I don't do this. And what I'm not saying here, this is for studio days. Outside of studio days, there's lots of moments that I'm creating, where I get ideas, which can be at the most random moments. I'll be on the couch watching a football match, and completely forgetting about the football match because I was like, let me open Ableton and try something. And sometimes that's the moment where the real good ideas come to life.
And how many of these ideas actually make it into a final track? Let's say percentage. You sit on the couch, you make a melody.
I would say for every finished track, there's maybe 10 to 20 not finished tracks. And those, sometimes they're almost finished tracks that just didn't make the cut. Sometimes it's just a groove. It can take many forms. Yeah. But I would say roughly for every finished track, there's maybe 10 to 20 unfinished tracks. Although I never bin something, because quite often from an unfinished track, if I have an idea, I'll be like, oh yeah, one of those has a
drag it into your project.
Yeah, I'm like, I like the kick bass in that one, and I like the groove that I made in that track, and I'll grab them when I have an idea. And that way, when I do have an idea, I can get it sketched out very quickly because I already made drums in other tracks. Yeah. Or, you know.
And how do you handle creative blocks? Do you ever jump into this, or is that because you created a system that you can do something else?
Well, I'll always be in the studio, so I'll always be creating something. And there are periods where for months, I'll just not make anything that I'm really happy with or proud of. And in moments it can be very frustrating, and it definitely does happen. But I sort of learned to not resist too much, and kind of thing. Try to be confident, like, yeah, this is temporary. I know this because I've had it before.
You will overcome it. Yeah, eventually.
I'll overcome it. And then there's always going to be a moment where suddenly everything clicks, and then because I've been I never stop working because I'm always confident. Yeah, when I do have inspiration again, all of these things that I've been working on while I was not inspired will be useful, either because I trained a skill I didn't have before, designing certain sounds, or making drums from a sound that I'm not working in myself, or etc. Yeah.
Do you dive into a lot of tutorials as well? Like on YouTube that you...
I used to, but honestly, I hardly ever do anymore. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Because
Because sometimes for me, that is it's suddenly you're like, oh, I want to try this technique, and suddenly you're halfway a track. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah. That's actually a good point. I should, because I do recognize what you say. I have had this before, but it's been a while since I've properly watched the tutorials.
So maybe the album is out of the way. You can you can put that into practice next time. Now the album is done, it's out. You work on a lot of new music again. So which means now the album is out, which means shows are coming in. Is there still, you mentioned it earlier, because I've always find it fascinating if artists have bucket lists. I love that because I exactly the same.
Yeah.
What is the one that's going to be coming up next? Like which are you going to tick off your list, from your bucket list?
To do? Oh, it's a good question. I honestly don't know exactly. It's kind of like there's a blank canvas again.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of giving into that and really enjoying that, and making music in all sorts of directions, and just going with whatever gives me inspiration. And I'm like, I'll think about whether it fits my profile. I'll think about that later.
Yeah. But a dream show or a dream release or a dream show. Collab, all of those.
Well, I mean, I do, of course, have some venues that are like dream venues. First thing that I think of is, what's it called? Red Rocks.
Oh,
in the USA. That's one of those places where I'm like, I really want to play there one day. There's quite a couple of festivals I've been to when I was younger. I've been to Mysteryland many times. So I would love to play Mysteryland at some point.
Hope it comes back. Fingers crossed.
I hope it comes back. Yeah, because they're not doing a festival next year. But I think they already said they will be back after that. So
it's one of the best festivals.
Yeah,
I had to.
It would break my heart if they don't come back.
Yeah.
And following from that, of course, Tomorrowland is also one of those that I would love to play. But I could think of so many. And there's also quite a couple of places that I already have played, but I want to play again.
Like?
I have a really strong connection to AM, the club in Brazil. There's actually a track on the album called Valinhos, and guess where AM is?
Oh, nice.
In Valinhos. It's because...
Big shout out to Scores.
Huge. I did a track with him.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. And all the people from there are amazing. And talking about how music connects again, the amazing thing is I've been there twice now, once playing at La Rock and once at AM. And I don't speak the language there, so you can't really have conversations with most of the people there. Still, I feel like I have a really strong connection with the people there, because they've also always been so warm to me. Every show I've played there has been just straight up amazing. It's a beautiful place. So that's definitely a place I want to return to. And I could think of 10 others, but
Lots of things to do. Blank canvases are all over the place right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Thanks so much for answering all these questions. And once again, congratulations on the release of A Place to Call Home.
Thank you so much.
Amazing work, and hope to see you again in the studio once again.
Yeah, likewise.
All right, thanks so much for tuning into this podcast. Next week, we're back with In the Studio, Nifra. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Check all previous episodes on YouTube or your favorite podcast portal.